What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. Today it's the Game Week 15 preview. Lots to go through today. So we're going to talk about Chelsea defenders, in particular Reece James and Chillwell. I got so many questions about what to do with those two players in particular. There's some updated blank and double game week news. I don't think it's going to change our strategy too much, but I wanted to talk about it because it is quite important. We're going to talk about Man City attacking woes. Also some cheap double game week strikers to be looking at, especially for those of you looking to offload Ollie Watkins, for example, maybe this week or next week. And then I'm going to go through some free hit info at the end, because there's quite a few misconceptions about how the free hit works when it comes to planning, transfers, price rises and all that stuff. So I'm going to touch on that in the end as well. Now, usually I put the game week preview out on a Wednesday and I do my team selection on Tuesday. Nothing to worry about. I'm just swapping them around this week because I've just done my chip strategy video. So I want to give it a little bit of space before I talk about my particular team again. Obviously, with the Chillwell injury, I'll be mentioning that and showing you what my kind of new transfer plans are potentially, and also my new chip strategy plans and stuff like that. So that'll be out tomorrow. It's game week preview time today. Please do give it a like if you're enjoying it, even if it's not just for the Christmas hat. Hit subscribe. Let's jump into it. Okay, so the most asked question this week was about what to do with Ben Chilwell, Reece James. Should we get rid of them? What's the latest? Who should we bring in, right? So we're going to try and cover all of that. First of all, what happened, right? So Reece James, after the deadline for game week 14, we found out that he needed a scan. I think it was for his knee, to find out if he needed surgery, right? So he didn't even play the West Ham game at all, whereas Ben Chilwell did. Then he turned his ankle and he's gone off injured. So someone I follow, Nizar Kinsella, they tweeted out. Now I don't know whether they asked Lampard directly or they just saw the questions that he was asked. But he said on Reece James, he hopes the injury is not too bad. Obviously, everyone hopes that. But again, it's not a guarantee that he will or will not be back anytime soon. And look, I'm not a doctor at all. But if you go from needing a scan to find out if you need surgery, just how bad is that injury in the first place, right? I know sometimes players can play through pain. They can get injections. They can put off certain kind of injuries to get the surgery later. So it could be the same in this case, right? But the game is not that far away. It's only 4 days away until Arsenal. It's the 22nd when I'm recording this. These questions were from last night. And obviously the game's on the 26th. And their second game, oh, I say second, I mean game week 16 game, is on the 28th. Right, so there's only 6 days until that second game, let alone the first one in 4 days. So that would be a slight worry for me. And then on Chilwell, he said, I expect he will be doubtful for Arsenal. So he's already saying potentially out for the Arsenal game in game week 15. He turned his ankle, he'll have a scan tomorrow. So this was last night. The scan will happen on Tuesday when I'm recording this. We may or may not get the results of that scan today, tomorrow, in the press conference, whatever it might be, and get a bit more of an update. For me, the main issue is, if they're going to miss Arsenal, there has to be a chance they're also going to miss Villa. It's not like they got a week break after that. It's 2 days, right? It's almost, I think it's less than 2 days rest in some cases for some teams. So that's a bit of a worry. I've put them both down as green fixtures because I think from a defensive point of view, given how good Chelsea are, they probably are green fixtures. And we know these boys are attacking as well. But like I said, my main worry is if they miss Arsenal, they got a good chance of missing Villa, I think. So if you wanted to get rid of them, I don't think it's the worst shout. There's other factors to consider, which I'll come on to in a sec. Man City in Game Week 17 is not a good fixture. I can see Man City scoring in that one. Of course, Chelsea are very good defensively, but most of the time I would back in a big game between two teams like this that both sides will probably score. Game week 18 they blank. I think sometimes in situations like this when you get an injury you think, oh, I could sell them. You suddenly start talking yourself out of how good a fixture is. I think in game week 19 that's still a good double game week, right? They're both quite cheap considering, you know, compared to like Liverpool players. Fulham away and Leicester away is okay, and then they got good fixtures afterwards. So don't kid yourself that Chelsea defenders are no longer an option or anything like that. But if these two are both going to miss a game, that probably makes the Chelsea defence weaker overall. Luckily, they've got Azpilicueta that can come in and play either right or left. So if James was back, Azpilicueta could play left. If not, he'll play right. And then they've got Emerson and Alonso in that left-back spot. Now, Lampard, I would say, is not the biggest fan of those two. That's why Chilwell has played so many minutes since he came in. So as soon as he's back, he's going to be back into the team. It's just a question of when. For me, if money's not an issue right now, as in you're not kind of looking at a transfer thinking, God, I've got hardly any money to make this transfer, I've even got zero in the bank and I need to make it now, then maybe you could go for it early. Otherwise, I would try and wait for the results. If he's going to miss Arsenal and Villa, I think you could sell Chilwell or Reece James. There's obviously money issues to worry about because some people would have got Chilwell for 5.5. He's gone up to 6.2, so I think you'd have 5.8 you could sell him for, and it would cost you 0.4 to buy him back unless he drops in price. But maybe if you didn't like have a plan to go double Chelsea defence, it's a good time to maybe switch down to Zuma or even switch down to Reece James when he's fit instead, and not worry about having Chilwell for now. That's definitely on my mind for sure. And then in terms of replacements, I mean, this does depend a lot on your strategy, and I'm going to keep saying that. I'm going to sound like a broken record until we get past Game Week 19. But obviously, if you're free hitting in Game Week 19, it's probably more prevalent to get a Man City defender, for example. Diaz, Stones, if you want to risk it. Man City are playing in the EFL Cup, so you might be able to get some kind of indication of their Premier League lineup by what they do in the Cup. But obviously, with Pep, you never know. So Diaz for sure, or you could go Spurs, Reguilon or Dyer. If you're looking more towards building a team for the double game week, then if you can get up to Robertson or Trent Alexander-Arnold, who are very close in terms of which one to buy, I would probably go Robertson, but Trent is not a bad player, as we know. So if you can go up to them, great. If you want to save some money and go away from Chelsea altogether, then you've got Soufal at West Ham is a good idea, I think. Charlie Taylor at Burnley, they got good fixtures before the double, and they do have a double game week, although it's not the best. It's West Ham away and Liverpool away, so it's not the greatest for Burnley, but he is someone to consider if you need some, especially if you're not bench boosting, because he has got really good fixtures before the double game week. So there's plenty of players you could choose, right? Obviously, you're going to have to decide whether or not to get rid of them. I think if they do miss Arsenal and Villa, I think there's a very good case to be made, because they probably will drop in price at least 0.1 or 0.2 million before you look to get them back. And you can obviously buy them back. If you're a Chilwell owner and Reece James is fit by Game Week 19, well, you've saved yourself some money and you've still got a Chelsea defender for Game Week 19 double. So there's not really, at the time of recording, too much extra news that I can give you. But it's definitely something to think about. And if money is tight, you could make the transfer early. But as we know this season, making transfers early is extremely risky. So it was quite funny on Monday. I put out my chip strategy video. Then literally an hour later, we find out that the EFL Cup final has been moved. And then in the evening, Chilwell gets injured. So it kind of changes things around a little bit, but not too much, right? So I wanted to quickly talk about it. And as you can see, I'm talking about Ben again. If you don't follow Ben, go and follow him on Twitter. Very useful for blanks and double game weeks in particular. Really knows his stuff. So the EFL Cup final has been moved from Game Week 26. It was due to play in the Game Week of 26. And now it's being played in Game Week 33 instead, right? So if two teams, obviously two Premier League teams, get to the final, their fixture will both be called off in Game Week 33. So let's say Man United and Man City both get through to the final. Their fixtures will be called off, right? Obviously, if it's two teams that are playing each other, it's just one fixture that gets called off. But obviously, it would be two blank fixtures if it's two teams in different fixtures, right? So it's going to be probably, or there should be, a small blank game week in Game Week 33. But because it's only two fixtures max, it shouldn't be too hard to kind of, you know, navigate your team around that, right? And because of that, because they've freed up some space in Game Week 26, Ben thinks that the Game Week 26 double game week is likely to be much bigger than expected before, to the point where it could be as big as double game week 19, if not bigger. So potentially there's another place to play your bench boost if you're not playing it in Game Week 19. So that's something to consider. And as you can see in the second tweet, so this is what he thinks the schedule is going to be. Now, I will say he's very spot on usually, and obviously he was with Game Week 18 and 19. He knew this was pretty much how it was going to work. But I think with the Game Week 26, I think what he's saying is it makes sense to move a lot of the fixtures there. But obviously, what makes sense and what the Premier League actually does is not necessarily the same thing. So this isn't guaranteed, but it is very likely because Ben usually knows his stuff. So blank Game Week 18, double Game Week 19, another double Game Week in 26. Game Week 29 will have the blanks, so that'll be for the FA Cup quarterfinals. We'll find that out in Game Week 24, so we will know a few game weeks ahead, and then there'll be a couple of blank fixtures in Game Week 33 as well. And then, yeah, there'll be likely some other small double game weeks. So it's not just double game weeks in 19 and 26, and that is it. There will be some other ones. There's quite a few fixtures to rearrange, and there's nothing to say there won't be more either before the end of the season with everything that is just going on. Obviously, there could be further COVID postponements, weather postponements, and stuff like that. So without getting into this too much, does it change or should it change people's tactics a lot? Probably not, right? You've still got that blank game in 29 to contend with. I still think using your wildcard, this probably means holding your second wildcard is even more important. If you're using it in game week 17 and then free hitting an 18, I think that's a big mistake. I think it's going to really hurt you longer term. The thing for me with this is now, right, if you can bench boost in game week 19, then obviously you go from game week 20, you got 21, 22, 23, and then potentially in game week 24, we should find out who is blanking in 29, i.e. who's going to double, probably in 26, and then you can wildcard and start building towards that. Now, the reason the wildcard's handy is if you know who's going to blank in 29, right, you can, and I hope you're following this, because I know this gets confusing, you wildcard in 24 or 25 ahead of the double game week in 26, and then you put some players on your bench, and this is if you're not bench boosting, of course, you put some players on your bench that are cheap, that are going to play in the blank, so you're kind of prepared for that, and then you're not worrying about that later on, because most people have used their free hit by then. So I don't think it really changes too much. You could, if you were bench boosted in 19, now triple captain and use your wild card before game in 26 and then bench boost in 26. The only downside is what I've just said. If you've not got your free hit when you do that, you're going to wild card to maybe 15 double game week players, and then a lot of those players are going to blank in game week 29 just 3 weeks later. So from game week 26 to 29, obviously in game week 27, 28 and 29, you'd have 3 free chances to kind of make any more moves you want to prepare for that blank in game week 29, which will be quite big. Look, expect 5 or 6 fixtures as shown on screen. And if that happens, you don't want to necessarily have a team full of double game week players who are then all going to blank, because that will leave your team in tatters in game week 29. So right now, it doesn't feel like much has changed. If you've got your first wild card, you wild card in game week 15 or 16, you free hit in 18, you bench boost in 19, you use your second wild card to prepare for the game week 26 double game week and the game week 29 blanks. If you don't, you still probably free hit in 18 or 19, and then you're using your triple captain and bench boost either in 19 or later on in 26. And because there's going to be other small double game weeks, there's potential to use your triple captain at multiple times throughout the season. So it's not necessarily an absolute must to use it now. So that's the latest news. I'll tell you now, as someone without their first wildcard, it hasn't changed my thinking at all. The only difference is, before I was thinking about maybe building my team to blank game week 29, then wildcarding out of it. More likely now, I'll have to use it in game week 24 or 25 to prepare for the double and the blank at the same time. The good thing about that is, any players, like for me, I'm trying to build towards a bench boost for game week 19 without a wild card. So obviously I've got more money on my bench right now, but I've only got to hold it for 4 game weeks, and then I can wild card out of it. I can just get a good first 11, a couple of bench players, and then a couple of bench fodder, and that's set me for the rest of the season. At least that's the plan. So this is kind of big news, but I don't think it's going to change too many people's strategies. Of course, if you've got any questions, please do leave them below. And when I talk about my team, I'll kind of see or talk about how this affects it. But realistically, not very much. And obviously, if you've not got free hit and you've not got your first wildcard, you're in the same situation as before. You've still got to manage 18 and 19. And then you can just use your wildcard later in game week 24 or 25 to prepare for the rest. So I hope you followed that and I hope it was useful. Let's get on to the next bit. Okay, so this is something I wanted to talk about, right, which was Man City attacking worries. And I was basically going to look at how they performed last year versus this year. And then I thought, well, I might as well just look for all kind of the top teams this year so far. So the numbers you see on screen are obviously on a team-by-team basis rather than a player-by-player. And they are XG per game. So some teams this year have played less games than others, but I've worked it out per game. On the left is this year, on the right is last year, and it's ordered in the highest to lowest in terms of the 6 teams I've looked at from this season, right? So you can see Liverpool top, 1.95 XG per game, which is pretty good, close to 2. And last year it was 1.83, so not a massive difference. They're slightly up, but obviously, as with anything like this, there's a caveat that we're on a smaller sample size right now, so it could come down over the course of the season. But Liverpool in general, pretty good. Leeds, we don't have data from the Premier League last year. We could go and look at Championship data, but what I think is really interesting is Leeds are a team that have just been battered by Man United 6-2, but they still scored 2 goals. And look, people could go and talk about Bielsa as a manager, whether he should manage like that, the fact that maybe he doesn't want to use different tactics to actually try and like win a game as another manager would, like he's in trying to, you know, sit deep, try and defend, hold a lead, and then maybe counter-attack. He doesn't want to play like that. And look, you can talk about that from a footballing point of view. From an FPL point of view, it's great. They are the second best attack when it comes to XG so far. 1.7 per game is great. Their attackers are extremely cheap, and we should definitely be looking at them, maybe even outside of Bamford, right? Bamford's great. A lot of us own him. But there's other players, which I'm going to talk about in a sec, with the double game week strikers. And Rafinha as well in midfield is definitely an option. So Leeds are looking good. It'll be interesting to see how much they can keep that up as the season goes on. Man United slightly down, but not enough to be worried about. 1.65 to 1.61, still decent enough. Third best XG so far this season. This does include penalties, I would say. So like Leicester on there with 1.57. They've had a lot of penalties this year. And Chelsea, again, they've come down a bit, 1.87 to 1.59. They do have quite a few new players to put into the team, a lot of rotation. They've had injuries as well. So maybe that's kind of hurting them a little bit. But they're still a good attacking team. Man City is the interesting one, which is where this whole thing of me wanting to talk about it started. So they've not been their normal selves this year. Last year, their XG per game was 2.48. That's ridiculous, right? So they're averaging, you know, they should be averaging over 2 goals a game on average, right, over the 38-game season. This year, it's 1.52. It's less than Leicester, less than Chelsea, United, Leeds United, Man United, Leeds United, and Liverpool, right? It's less than all of them. And this is on a per-game basis, so the fact they've played one less game doesn't make any difference. Now, I've spoken about Man City attack quite a bit this year, and the fact that, you know, Aguero was injured, then Jesus was injured, De Bruyne was injured, they had to play with false nines and stuff like that. Maybe that wasn't helping. You could say that for sure, but that is a worry. Like, how much is David Silva and players like Sané missing? Obviously, Sané didn't play much last year, but David Silva in particular is a big miss. And I think when De Bruyne is the price he is, 11.8 million, it's obviously getting people concerned about bringing him in when you can get Salah for just a little bit more, Fernandes for a little bit less. I do think if you're a De Bruyne owner, Newcastle at home is a really good fixture. I would not sell him for that unless I absolutely had to, for like Salah at West Brom maybe. And I will also say, if you look over the last 6 game weeks, Man City's attack is the best in terms of XG, right? So although it's bad for the whole season, it is getting better as the season goes on. It is a small sample size. I'm not sure if they'll get to 2.48, but I'm sure it will continue to scale upwards as the season goes. Jesus being back or Aguero being fit to play would really help them, I think. And obviously David Silva's a miss, but they've still got Kevin De Bruyne there playing on a more attacking role. There's rumours he doesn't really like that and he wants to play a bit deeper, but that's the way it is right now for him. So I do think after Newcastle, it's Everton and Chelsea. Probably not, you know, you probably don't need 2 or 3 attacking players in there. Maybe De Bruyne, if that. Obviously they play in the bank and then they've got good fixtures, right? So I wouldn't write them off. I think it's very easy to say that they're no good now that they drew with West Brom and only just beat Southampton. But, you know, a few games before that, they put 7 past Fulham and Burnley. And I don't think they were particularly lucky. And if anything, they should have scored more against Fulham. So not time to write them off, but definitely something to track as we go. And I'll probably do that in a few more weeks just to see how they're getting on. Because they have improved over the last 6. But over the season, they're not really doing too well at all. So lots of people obviously piled onto Mahrez and Jesus, etc. And Sterling's done all right, to be fair. But it hasn't so far been the season to kind of take a risk on Pep Roulette, so to speak. So if you own De Bruyne, I wouldn't worry this week because it's Newcastle at home. That's a great fixture. But potentially for the game weeks after that, it might be worth selling him if it's to go to like Son or Kane or someone like that. So I want to take a quick look at the cheap double game week strikers to be looking at potentially to bring in. You know, 4 game week 19 and potentially even before and after as well. So I've basically picked 5. So I've got Bamford, I've got Rodrigo also from Leeds as well, Che Adams obviously Southampton, Mikel Antonio if he's fit from West Ham, and then Chris Wood from Burnley, who, not very exciting, but his numbers are always really good. So if we have a quick look at the numbers I got on screen. So basically, the numbers are XG on the left, XA or expected assists on the right. That's per 90 minutes. I always think that's quite good to look at because it kind of evens the players out who have played different minutes. If you do just XG totals, it's not necessarily a fair comparison. Obviously, you still take minutes into account. If a player only plays 90 minutes and they get like 3 really, really good chances, that's a bit skewed. But they've all played a decent amount of minutes. And then on the right, it's their 2 games in the double game week specifically, right? So I've not put the ones before and after. So if you don't own Bamford, he looks like a great option. I know some people get frustrated by him because he misses chances, but 0.73 XG over 14 games is insane, right? To give you an example, Calvert-Lewin last year I think was 0.5, so was Danny Ings, and I think Jimenez was just below on like 0.49 or something like that. Bamford, yes, it could come down, but we've just seen that Leeds, second best attack when it comes to creating chances, expected goals, and Bamford's the number 9. He doesn't look like he's going to lose that position anytime soon. He looks great. Brighton at home, Southampton at home, I think that's 2 really good fixtures. Given the way Leeds attack, they will score goals in these fixtures, and the games before are pretty good. It's Burnley at home this week, then West Brom away in game week 16, looks really nice, and then Spurs away in game week 17, which I think that's going to be a really good game for Spurs goals, but I do think Leeds will score as well. I think it'll be a bit like the Man United game. So he looks good. Don't discount Rodrigo either. Stats-wise, not quite as good. He is kind of playing more off the striker, so he's a bit more creative. You can see that. 0.19 expected assists, only 0.27 XG. But when you consider that a lot of people are going to Che Adams, who stats overall are slightly better, But Rodrigo so far has a little bit more goal threat. And again, I would say the fixtures are probably slightly better for Leeds. The thing for Southampton is they got that Leeds away game, which is good. Leicester away is going to be tricky for them. And then before that, they've got Liverpool in game week 17, but Fulham and West Ham before it. So I don't think there's too much between Che Adams and Rodrigo. Rodrigo hasn't had a huge amount of minutes yet, so maybe as he gets more, he'll improve. But I really like him. I think he's cheaper as well. He's only like 5.7 million. And I don't think going for a differential for differential's sake is ever worth it. But he is a bit of a differential compared to Adams, and I do think there's a chance for him to be better. And also after the double game week, I think I prefer Leeds fixtures to Southampton as well. So nothing against Che Adams. Plenty of people are going to buy him this week. I don't think that's an issue at all. And by the way, if you've got Ollie Watkins, these are probably the players you want to look at if they're fit and ready to go. Obviously, if you've got other transfers to make, I don't think holding Ollie Watkins for Crystal Palace at home is a bad decision. But I wanted to talk about this because people are starting to look towards getting double game week players in. Antonio, look, again, all jokes aside, if he can get fit, his XG 0.47, extremely good. It was extremely good last year. He's definitely someone to watch. The best double game week, Brighton at home, West Brom at home. My only concern with him is the closer we get to it when he's not playing, like I want to see him play kind of 1, 2, maybe even 3 games beforehand, see him play 70 to 80, maybe even 90 minutes and come through unscathed. If he doesn't play over Christmas, game week 15, game week 16, then he's only got 17 to show us that he can play, and that would really put me off. So as much as I would love him when he is fit, it's getting to the point now, jokes aside, like I said, where I wouldn't look at him. Chris Wood, again, fixtures after the double game week for Burnley, not great. He always posts good numbers. 0.4 XG per 90 is decent, right? And it's weird because when I watch Burnley, I think, where's he getting these chances from? They're not a very creative team. They don't create a huge amount of chances, but he always comes up with the goods. And by the way, this XG is without penalties, so they're taken out of the equation. Obviously, we know Wood's got penalties in particular. Antonio probably would have when he plays, so you shouldn't discount them. But this is to give a fairer comparison without the penalties. So good, and also the fixtures before, very good. Leeds away this week, decent. He should get chances in that. Sheffield United at home and Fulham at home as well. So I really like the fixtures before. I think the double game week is tricky because it's West Ham away and Liverpool away, and the fixtures after aren't great. But if you need someone for now, he could even be the best option out of all these. But I think Bamford for me, and I think it's close between Rodrigo and Adams. I think the double game week and the fixtures afterwards would put me off Chris Wood. And Antonio's going to have to get fit very quick for him to be a consideration. So I wanted to talk a bit about the free hit in a little bit more detail because lots of people are planning when to use it and transfers before and after, but there are a lot of misconceptions about how it works, how price rises and stuff work, how much money you've got to spend, how many transfers you'll have after it, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to go through this. Obviously, if you're a seasoned FPL player, you've been playing the last few years, you probably know this, but I've still seen some people who should know this that don't. So yeah, let me explain it, and it'll probably be quite quick, right? So once you play your free hit, right, whatever week it is, I'm not going to go into strategy here, you can't carry your transfers into the week after, right? So example, game week 17, you've got 2 free transfers. Game week 18, you free hit, right? So in game week 17, you've got 2 free transfers, you don't use any. Game week 18, you free hit. In game week 19, you'll have 1 transfer, right? So if you've got 2 free transfers, use them. Even if it's for a punt or whatever it is, use them, because when you come out of the free hit, you'll always have 1, right? If you've got 1 going into 17 and you don't use it, you'll have 1 in game week 19, right? Or whatever week you use the free hit. So people think they can save up 2 free like it would be great, don't get me wrong, to save up 2 free transfers in 17, free hit in 18, and have 2 free transfers for the double game week, but it doesn't work like that. You lose your second one, and you'll always have 1. So whenever you use the free hit, the week after you have 1 free transfer. Doesn't matter what else you do, it's always 1. So remember that. Price rises and falls, right? So you will still have price rises and price falls for the players that you had in your team before you free hit. So again, I'll just keep using 18 and 19 as an example. So game week 17, you have your team, your 15 players in your squad. In game week 18, you free hit. Let's say you remove all those players, right? If any of those players from game week 17 rise or fall in price, they will rise and fall in price for when you get them back in 19. So let's say you've got Robertson, he's 7.2 million, right? You free hit him out and he goes up to 7.4 million, which obviously is unlikely because, you know, they're not playing that week, so no one's bringing them in. But they go from 7.2 to 7.4. When you get him back, he'll be 7.4 in your team. You'll be able to sell him for 7.3, etc. And obviously the same. If he's 7.2 He drops to 7.1. When you get him back in Game Week 19, he'll be 7.1. Now, you could, because when you use the free hit, you don't. It's like a wild card. You don't have to transfer every player out. So if a player's going to rise in price, you can. So let's say, to give an example again, let's say Robertson's 7.2. He's already, or he was 7.2 when you bought him. He goes up to 7.3, right? And then you free hit. If you've not removed him and he goes up to 7.4, you'll get an extra 0.1 to spend in your free hit team. And obviously you'll still have got on that rise for the next game week. So hopefully that makes sense. Essentially, players can rise and fall. And that's it. You can't make use of players rising and falling that are in your free hit team. So if you don't own Kane, you free hit him in, he goes up in price, it doesn't matter, right? But it is worth, if he is about to go up in price, putting him in your free hit team straight away. Because if he does go, let's say he's 11, right? And then he goes up to 11.1 and you've not put him in your free hit team yet, you'll have to pay 11.1 for him. So hopefully that makes sense. It's not unlimited money. So some people seem to think that when you free hit, you get unlimited money to spend. You don't. Basically, the money you have to spend, if you go to your transfer page on FPL, right, and then click the X on every single player, whatever the money is there, that is what you have to spend, right? So if I have Robertson, I can sell him for 7.2, I click the X off him, I've got 7.2 to spend. You just do that for every other player, and that'll show you exactly what you have to spend. You don't get any extra, you don't get any less than that. And obviously, if you want to keep some players in your team, you'll get whatever the selling price is for them for your team, rather than what they actually cost. So again, hopefully that makes sense. And you can't make transfers. This is the biggest one, I think, even more so than the you can't carry transfers, right? If you're free hitting in Game Week 18 and you want to make a transfer beforehand to get that player for 19, it does not work. It does not work. So let's say I've got Reguilon and I want to change him to Reece. I've got Reguilon in Game Week 18 and I want to change him to Reece James for Game Week 19. So I make the transfer in Game Week 18 and then I use my free hit. Reece James is gone. It resets. So you can make 20 transfers in Game Week 18. As soon as you activate your free hit, all those transfers are cancelled. Right? You cannot take them into Game Week 19. So that's what I'm saying with the carry transfers. So Game Week 17, you can make a transfer, it sticks. Game Week 18, you free hit. Doesn't matter what transfers you make, they ain't staying in your team for Game Week 19. And then when you get to Game Week 19, it's one free transfer. I think that's all the myths and misconceptions that go along with free hit. I hope you could follow me just talking about it. But please do leave a comment below if you've got any other questions. But they are the two biggest ones. You cannot carry a transfer when you've used your free hit. The next week you'll only have one. And you can't make transfers and then the free hit. Because it will just, like a wild card, it will reset everything you've done. It will get rid of points hits. It will get rid of transfers. So hopefully that helps. So that's it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please do give it a like and hit that subscribe button. If you've got any other questions, leave a comment below and I'll try and get back to as many as possible. And obviously let me know what you think about what I've said, especially when it comes to double game week strikers. I know a lot of Che Adams fans out there, not really anyone considering Rodrigo, but I would definitely consider it even if you don't go that way in the end. And obviously with Ben Chillwell and Reece James, let me know what you are doing. In terms of content this week, so the preview's going out today, the team selection will be on Wednesday, captaincy will be on Thursday. I'm hoping to do like a Christmas style podcast on Christmas Day. So obviously it will release Christmas Day, but you don't have to watch it then. So I'll put up a questions kind of post on the community tab for kind of non-FPL questions. I don't want it to be all about what to do in Game Week 15, 16 and stuff like that. Captaincy will also, I think I said that will release on Thursday, and I'll try and stream on Christmas Eve, even if it's early in the day, just to get a stream in before the deadline. Then I'll have a deadline stream on Boxing Day the 26th, an hour before the game week, or 45 minutes to an hour before the game week starts. And I know a lot of people have been asking me about a wildcard video for game week 16, so I will try and get one of them out. It will probably be on Boxing Day after the deadline for 15 passes, but I'll have to record it before the deadline. So if there's any injuries or anything like that, I'm not going to be able to factor that in. That's just the way it's going to have to be given the current schedule. And I'm not going to be recording videos apart from the stream on Boxing Day. So that's the plan. And obviously then we'll have the normal stuff for the next couple of ridiculously quick game weeks. So hopefully you've been enjoying it. If you have and you want to consider supporting even more, please do check out Patreon. There's a link in the description below. There's Slack access over there. Early team reveal. So if I've made my transfers like I have this week, there's a team reveal over there. Obviously I'll still talk about on my team selection tomorrow. There'll be a Q&A this week and all that good stuff as well. So if you want to check it out, there's a link in the description below. Everyone that signs up goes up on the Legends wall. So thank you very much to everybody that has already signed up. So if you want to give yourself an early Christmas present, why not click that link, and check it out. See what you think. And if you want to give it a go, sign up, see what you think. You can always cancel it later on. I will leave it there because that's a very long outro. Please do look forward to all the content that is coming. Like I said, I'm going to try and get out all the normal stuff throughout this week and over Christmas, and keep an eye out for that community post as well. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you soon.